I would like to firstly just go into the definition of the probability mindset. It's quite interesting, this concept of thinking in probabilities, because in trading, we're trading uncertainties. We're anticipating price movements that will occur in the near future. There is an element of probability in everything that we do as when we're trying to trade, when we're trying to make money from the markets. Defining probability in its purest form is it's a chance of something happening. So if you were to choose a number from 0 to 100, it might have a 10% chance of happening, or there's a 95% chance of it happening. So probability can be measured, but unfortunately with trading, it's very difficult, in my opinion, to measure probability. And so you can have the best system, you can have an algorithm, you can have the best indicator that has ever existed that will give you a 98% probability of something happening. But the market always has a way of always being right. No matter what happens, the market is always right. And probability sometimes can go out the window, especially if you have a very certain outcome. You know, when you're very certain about something, when there's a high probability of something happening, but the opposite occurs, there's a lot of issues that can happen in your own thinking, in your self-image. And these are things that I'll be discussing further on to this webinar. And so in our endeavor, like trading, you can hardly get an exact probabilistic number. So regarding a potential move in the future, even like a technical analysis outcome, the uncertainty level is so high, and most technical traders arrive only with an intuitive assessment of the probability. And that's where most of our decisions are based on. It's like that essentially intuitive aspects of making decisions. And our intuition is essentially our wisdom, our experience based on that. Yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. Let's think about this from the perspective of what actually, in this case, the traders were thinking about this particular topic. Why we have to think in probabilities? And if we do not think in probabilities, what are the consequences? Try to answer this question, why we have to think in probabilities, and what is the consequence if we do not do that? Because obviously we do know that there is then other factors that probabilities will provide to us X percentage that we need to question how those percentages coming from. Is from back testing that we didn't actually thinking, or we are not behaving the right way, or we didn't actually think in rational, or we are irrational that time, or we have approached the market in the wrong moments. There is many factors can be actually affect our perfection of that probability percentage, and that will be affect our probability perfection because we have different perception when we really start to trading. Try to actually to go into that direction. Let's see what you can get from that.
Thinking in probabilities is what we try and do on a daily basis on everything that we do, right? It could be within trading and outside of trading, but within trading, I find that I always try to look for patterns, right? And so for me, my edge comes from trading specific rules, specific patterns. I think it's important to think in probabilities because if I see a certain pattern working based upon my back tests, and all of the research that I conducted on this particular pattern, when I see this pattern in the future, it just gives me that confidence that I will then have a high probability of winning this trade. So for me, thinking in probabilities is so important.
Okay.
In that sense.
Let me give you one example for everyone to understand this, I think maybe more clear. The majority of people or non-traders that will start to be a trader, they are thinking, okay, let's say that they got the first day at work in any new job, 9 to 5. Do you think, okay, because one of the main problems is like thinking in probabilities will avoid to thinking about money. Now, if you don't think about money, if you think about actually how much money you're going to make or how much money you're going to lose, or if you think how much money you're going to make, then if you don't make it, you will feel sad, you will be thinking irrational, and there will be another consequence, another patterns again inside the patterns of not thinking in probabilities. Now, when you go to a new job, 9 to 5, you do not thinking about how much money you're going to get. Obviously, you have thinking that you will get money on the end of the month, or the end of the week, or every 2 weeks, or whatever you get paid. Yeah. But the first thing you're thinking about is the probabilities. Is not, well, you're thinking probability, you're thinking about to do your job well, And if you do not actually, let's say you came into the job naked, you got a big chance to be actually a probability, the chance to be kicked out is quite large. So this actually is the day one you come in naked, you got a big chance to be out from the job. So you see that if you do behave, you start working 9 to 5, you do your job, you work your routines, you behave nicely, you go into the job clean, obviously all this stuff, the basics of the basics, and you behave and you do your job, your probability to finish the month is quite high. And this indirectly, we do not think in probabilities, but we do behave in probabilities to do the good things or things that are supposed to be done in the right way. So you do not actually don't say bad words about other people, or you open the door for a lady to go first, or you do things, and that consequence of those things, you go probabilities to get maybe something from that, but you don't think about it, you just do it. You just follow up patterns that actually make you to do the right things, and maybe you get something from that. So it's like say that you have done a good job Monday to Friday, do the right routine, do the right thing. Doesn't mean that you're gonna continue working the month too, because you know the percentage of probability to do at the second month the same thing is not equal. So that's why we don't know the percentage of probability will work or not. Yeah. So it's just like we never know how much we can actually make on the end of the month. We do know we're gonna have a salary 9 to 5 is clear, but we don't know if actually the manager will look into us very bad, and that probability will start to go down because we make few mistakes or because he didn't like me, and that's it. So you see, that's many factors coming into place when you do probabilities back testing into trading. You're thinking about back testing, you don't know how much money you're gonna make. You just do back testing. You just do a good job. You just follow some rules. And then there can be some outcome coming from there, some numbers is coming into it that will say to you, okay, I can make this percentage, but based on what? Based on don't thinking about money, first thing, because you're back testing. The second thing, you just try to improve as much possible and do the good job and follow the rules, whatever rules you have. So you see, you don't thinking about anything else than that. And there is percentage coming up from rational thinking that you don't actually, the only thing you want to do is actually do a good job and looking for that percentage. Now, when you go into the real situation, things change. Why this is changed? Because you start to think about money. That's the only problem. So why we thinking about money when there's back testing is no money there? Why we cannot duplicate that into the real situation? And the question is how we can do that. Because thinking in probabilities is one thing. Another thing is how we can manage to do that. So the only thing in just many ways is actually to do is to have control, discipline, meditation. We will talk about those things to be able to control that. But thinking in probabilities will give you the power to be right or wrong. It doesn't matter. It will make you thinking rational.
That's right. So the probability is one thing, is one part of having a probabilistic mindset, but then there's the mindset part. And so that's where, like you were saying, there's that rational part of our brain, of our decision making, that we automatically work in probability so that there's more chance of us to survive, to do well, to keep that job, or to win the majority of our trades, or to make some sort of money from trading. We do this automatically from a rational point of view, but unfortunately, as human beings, we're not always just rational. There is a huge part of us that is emotional. And there is this fear from the brain, which is a biochemical, emotion is biochemical. It's what happens in your brain. It leads to certain behaviors. And so this is where we need to think about mindset. We need to think about, what do we believe in? What emotions am I having? And how are my emotions and the beliefs about the market and about myself, how are they affecting my trading? In terms of defining a mindset is a belief that orientates the way we handle situations, the way we sort out what is going on and what we should do. Our mindsets helps us to spot opportunities, but then they can also trap us in self-defeating cycles. Mindset and our beliefs, they can work in our favor, and sometimes they can work against us. In an endeavor like trading, our worst enemy is ourselves. And that's because of emotion. Our emotion, sometimes it puts us in a situation where we react impulsively out of fear of failure, fear of our self-image. You know, we come into trading as so motivated. We're going to do really well. I believe in myself. I'm disciplined. I am a disciplined trader. But then along the way, we stumble on ourselves. We get in our own way. Daniel, you've probably noticed that with a lot of your students, that a lot of their issues are based upon their mindset. So it's not just that they're not
90%.
thinking probability, but it's the mindset part.